Hello and welcome to the Larger Than Necessary First Player Token Podcast. This is episode 71. My name is Chris.
I'm Euan.
I'm David.
I'm Pawel.
Hello lads.
Hello.
Hiya.
How's everybody doing?
I'm awesome.
Pretty good.
Oh sorry, we should have said Claire's here as well.
Hi, Claire.
Claire's our only fan. So we thought we'd get her in, just let her see how it happens, how
See
the
the
stuff
magic.
happens.
How the sausage is made.
That's a good analogy.
Yeah.
So we're here to talk video games this week, and for probably the first time and since the start of this podcast, I've got nothing to say.
We're very disappointed in you, Chris.
I know. Well, the thing is, I do have something to say, but I'm going to leave it till later, because later on the episode, towards the second half of the episode, we're going to talk about the event thing we went to, which is Games Are For Everyone, which happened in Edinburgh a couple of weeks ago. We went there, it was a whole video gaming thing. We'll talk about that later on. I've got something related to that to talk about, so we'll leave it till later. But let's just get straight into this. Pawel's going to tell us about some game he's been playing.
Hello.
That he's really enthusiastic about and wants us to spend a good half an hour talking about, but you've got 15 minutes, go.
I've been given 10 minutes, but I haggled for 15.
You haggled for 15, and I gave you it.
Yes. Hellblade: Senua's Sacrifice by Ninja Theory has come out fairly recently. Amazing game. That should be sufficient to say. But I'll go into details. And I've been told not to do any anecdotes, so I'll just say that many years ago, Ninja Theory came up with a game called Heavenly Sword, which was a hack and slash, and a really, really good game with some nice mechanics and storytelling.
Very short.
It was fairly shortish, yes. Good. Well,
6 hours,
yeah,
maybe.
For the times, it was good motion capture technology as well. Andy Serkis played in it. A few other actors. Anyway, so moving on.
Chris doesn't deem that a worthy fact.
No. Let's keep the anecdote. So then you get I think a sound engineer. No, actually a video editor working for Ninja Theory, who's just making this game along with a few other lads and lassies in Ninja Theory. But they don't have an actress to play the main protagonist yet, so they're asking her to do some motion capture checks and makeup checks and things like this. And gradually she becomes the protagonist. She gets the role eventually, and what we get in the end is Hellblade: Senua's Sacrifice is where this girl called Melissa, this girl called Jurgens, that's her surname, by the way.
I was going to say, that's not a girl's name.
is offered the role, and she's brilliant. Along with it comes like a proper top shelf motion capture technology, to the point where
Right, Pawel. In this country, top shelf means something else.
hello. So yes, I would like to remind everybody I have no idea what this is about. English is potentially not my first language. What the hell does top shelf mean in this strange country?
Well,
We'll tell you when you're older.
No. Right. Okay.
Readers' wives, that sort of thing.
What? I don't understand that either.
So far we've got
It's the
Jürgen,
readers' wives of computer games, is what you're trying to say.
Prochnov working blue in motion capture.
Right, Ninja
What else?
Theory is an indie company that made this amazing AAA game, which is shorter than what you normally expect from the giants of the video gaming world, but in terms of quality is easily up there with the very best. I'm not going to say top shelf because that's illegal, apparently.
As long as it's illegal as long as you don't want to be dirty.
I did not want to be dirty, man. Okay, so going back to the game itself, yes.
The game.
The game.
On the game.
I've still got a few anecdotes, but it's okay.
Okay, let's let him speak.
Hello. Right, so you get what could probably be called a third-person hack and slash with exploration segments. Yeah, a game that's supposedly not long, and it's definitely shorter than what you'd expect again from the people who charge you 50 quid or 60 quid per game. I must say, maybe because I'm really taking it very slow and going everywhere and just admiring the views, the game is so incredibly pretty that I've already played it for a week and I've still not completed it yet. So it's not as short as I expected. And this game is an experience. This game is all about. It's set in the sort of fantasy version of your Celtic and Norse mythology, somewhere north of the Orkney Islands, and essentially soon after that in the Norse underworld. And it's all about this Celtic warrior named Senua seeking to, I suppose, save the soul of her beloved slain lover. The Senua is crazy. And by crazy, I mean actually mentally unhealthy, I suppose. She thinks it's a curse. Her, obviously, tribesmen think it's a curse, that she's possessed by darkness, you name it. As you go through the game, you obviously learn her backstory and details. But the game has actually been made specifically with mental issues in mind, and Ninja Theory has worked with a number of mental health professionals in order to show it well, and they don't just show it. This is an interactive movie in a way. There isn't as many gameplay elements in this game as you would expect again from a regular hack and slash. Instead, there is voices keeping you company. You have to play this game in headphones. And there's illusions. The world keeps shifting in front of you. Wherever you look left and right, something may change.
Sorry, Pawel, can I just ask something? When you're talking about the mental health thing there,
yeah,
are they like portraying? Are they actually like saying that she has some like real life mental health issues? What we would call sort of mental health issues, but is it portrayed in the game as kind of like she's like something more, I don't know, like fantastical or something like that, or mythological? Or
there's twists to the storyline that I shouldn't really, spoil. But let me put it this way: as you start playing this game, you think, and you might be right, that you're going through her quest to reach the soul of her slain lover. So Senua descends into the underworld. Fighting various Norsemen sort of monstrosities and other enemies, but there is narration all the time. There is voices that you hear. There is all sorts of different stories from her childhood, and a couple hours into the adventure, you start to realize how it all started. So yeah, Senua has a psychosis essentially.
Right.
What I should also probably say about the game, there is hack and slash elements in it. Combat is actually quite exciting. There's plenty in it to give you a proper fright at times. There's certainly horror elements. The puzzles that you stumble upon can be quite creative. The sort of illusory aspect of this world is again very nicely done. This game is made with a clear vision, and the amount of polish would probably humble the best, developers out there. And this is an indie company. This game does not have an indie feel at all. It's bloody brilliant. It's one of my, top games this year, definitely. But it's also, again, it's not just a game. It's an experience. You play it and it moves you much more than a game would. It feels at times like a theatre play, in fact, of one actor, which essentially is true because this game was recorded in front of live audience because the technology is so advanced now that this actress, who actually wasn't even an actress, as I said, she's an engineer. She was part of the team building the game, and she started playing Senua and she learned to play it so well and so convincingly, and in times really creepily. The game has a very creepy element to it. It's all about the gods of the underworld, death and plague and destruction. Anyway, I think that's me at 11 minutes. I should probably let them speak about their own games.
Tell us a bit more about the actual gameplay, though. Like, I mean, what do you actually do in this game?
This is again, narration is the biggest thing. You I suppose you traverse the world whilst listening to various monologues and to your own inner voices.
So is that the focus on it? Because you're saying it's like a hack and slash thing, but is the focus more on the psychological side of it?
I mean, the focus of the game is to tell the story.
Yeah.
And this is where the psychological factor is. Combat is there, and there is enough in it to keep you happy. And I think there's a very well-crafted sort of ratio of puzzles to combat, to, I suppose, just exploration in the game. And the same thing can probably be said about puzzles and combat itself. The puzzles are never, terribly easy, but they also not so hard that they would frustrate you. And likewise, combat can be a little bit hack and slashy at times. But it's always breathtaking. It's very well crafted. Your enemies will always be quite terrifying, and even a regular single enemy will be much bigger than Senua, and sometimes there's going to be a number of them around you, and hack and slash quickly stops being an option. You have to fight tactically. There's ways to do it. Again, never terribly difficult, although at times you do repeat it. I should also mention the game doesn't really have a tutorial at all. Doesn't have any pop-up menus, doesn't have any... You don't collect equipment, you don't have stats, nothing like this. So you're immersed all the time. There's maybe one pop-up message from the devs at the very beginning of the game, which essentially says every single time you die, a corruption, which can be seen as a sort of like a rot on your arm, or on Senua's arm. Corruption spreads, and when it reaches Senua's head, the game is over and you have to start from the beginning. So a permadeath. Oh, wow. Nobody knows whether that's true. And this is really amazing. People tried, and they're still not sure whether you can actually reach this permadeath or not. So if you can't, this just means that the devs have just put this message there to troll you.
Yeah.
You know what? I started playing the game. I was terrified every single time I was fighting, because I thought, you know what? That's that. My save is going to be gone. I'll have to start from the beginning. Brilliant. Puzzles themselves are usually about searching for hidden runes in the destroyed, desolate world around you. But quite often it's also going to be about, again, this is a shifting world. You'll see different versions of it depending on, I suppose, mental state of Senua as she's going through various flashbacks from her past. The world will keep changing around you, but the game is all about her story, and I've never played anything like it.
Oh, cool. Have you finished it?
Okay. There is stuff to collect in this game. Essentially,
right.
No, sorry. When I say collect, you can find runes in the in various places in the game that trigger just stories told by one of your old dead friends. I've now just today I've read that if you actually manage to collect them all, as in trigger all the tiny bits of stories, and all those stories are essentially Norse myths about various Asgardian gods and Ragnarok and you name it, which are amazing on its own. Then you get an extra bit of ending, and I've pretty much decided I'm going to play it from the beginning this weekend because I really want the full experience. I want that cutscene at the end. Anyway. And I think I've missed a few of these runes along the way, but I'm nearly there just now, and I'm happy to start from the beginning because it's just such a captivating experience.
That sounds pretty cool, actually, because it sounds like they've not got caught in that trap of just trying to like put too many collectibles in, or here's some stats that you got to level up, here's some equipment and stuff. It sounds like it's very, very focused on the character.
Stories.
Yeah.
Stories.
That sounds pretty cool, actually. What platform are you playing that on?
I'm playing this on PS4. It came out on Steam as well.
So it's Windows and PS4.
Indeed.
And that's, August the 8th, apparently, it came out, so
I think one of the...
a few months old now.
One of the more important achievements of this game is the very concept of it. Ninja Theory essentially proved that we're not all trapped in the binary world of either AAA, big, massive, multi-million games on one end, and these quirky, strange, indie concepts that you can find in various strange corners of Steam. There is a middle ground, because, again, Hellblade is, 20 quid, 25 quid, and you get a shorter experience, but really worth it.
Yeah, how long is this game, roughly?
I think Google, generally speaking, says it's 6 to 8 hours. I've been playing it for well over 10, maybe 12 hours, because I'm taking my time. It's worth it.
Okay, I might actually pick that up myself, because that sounds pretty good. But time to move on. Pawel, that was good. You did 15 minutes. Well done.
Thank you.
You're getting better at this.
I know.
So that's Hellblade, Senua's Sacrifice by Ninja Theory. Right, so we're going to move on. Euan and I have swapped places because, like I say, I've got nothing to talk about, which is usually Euan's position.
Shocking.
And Euan's been playing a roguelike, which is usually my position.
Surprise. Yeah.
So tell us about this game, Streets of Rogue.
Streets of Rogue, yeah, it's a sort of quite like unique little roguelike. It's rather than sort of questing through dungeons, you're actually going through a kind of procedurally generated city, and you go up through various levels of it, starting off in the slums and then sort of moving up to industrial area. In fact, I wrote them all down because I couldn't remember from the tutorial because they make a big point of telling you at the start, but I haven't even reached. I think I've got to the industrial, the second area,
yeah,
and I pretty much died instantly.
Aye.
This is the typical roguelike
Typical
stuff.
roguelike behaviour, yeah. You're going to die a lot at the beginning.
But yeah, it's a slightly sort of cyberpunk setting. Doesn't take itself too seriously. Everyone's kind of a dick in it, really. Everyone's played for laughs. You're part of this resistance that's trying to stop the mayor from confiscating all the booze or something along those lines. I can't remember exactly what he's basically he's enacted an authoritarian regime, and you've been hired by the resistance folk to go and deal with him. There's various commodities as well that the resistance deem, I suppose, valuable. Just due to the fact that the mayor's confiscated everything, they're constantly looking for chicken nuggets, and this becomes your sort of upgrade system.
Chicken nuggets.
Yep.
I do remember seeing that brief 5 minutes I watched you playing it. The one thing I took away from it was there was a lot of chicken nuggets.
You get a lot of chicken nuggets, yeah. So I mean that's sort of what, but you go out into the city, you start off in the slums, you go off, the idea being you start off at one end, you sort of work your way to the other, but you can sort of go around
Is it a side scrolling?
No, it's top down.
Right,
it's top down,
because of the name, I assumed it was like Streets of Rage. But...
Yeah, it's taken
so
it's taken sort of inspiration from that, but it's very much sticking the roguelike style.
Yeah.
It's top down. You can kind of see inside buildings, but you can see where doors are. They might be locked, or they might say, do not enter.
Pawel is showing me a picture of it.
All right,
thanks, Pawel.
I'm always ever so helpful.
It's exactly like Euan described.
It's top down, and it's sort of 8-bit, but that sort of modern, quite polished 8-bit style.
Yeah.
There's a sort of various classes, characters you can use. There's quite a large selection. I've only unlocked a couple so far, but you start off with quite a decent selection. I actually spent the first few games just playing as a slum dweller, and you start off with nothing. It's almost like the challenge class, where but you level up a bit quicker than sort of other classes. But I've been trying it with you can get a soldier who basically you're just armed to the teeth, but you very quickly dispense with that by the time you start shooting everybody. You can find that you sort of get through the first floor and you've got no weapons left. But basically, you'll get given a bunch of missions to do by the resistance folk, and it'll be break into this building and maybe steal something from the safe, or get an item off somebody, which you might be able to do in various ways, either bribing them with something, money or an item, or intimidating them. I'm not entirely sure how the stats work. Like intimidating people, it'll give you a percentage, but I don't really know entirely what that's based on. It seems to be different for different classes and stuff like that. But
it might just be entirely class based then.
Possibly.
Is it the same all the time, or is it?
It's not always the same. That's the thing. It's usually quite low, but some of them, sometimes I've found they've been a bit higher for intimidate, or it's usually intimidate. That's the only one I've had. But yeah, I mean, you can do all sorts of stuff in this. You can basically you can take different approaches to how you're going to complete your missions, and that's entirely there's so many different ways of doing it depending on the classes you take. Like the thief, for example, I had a go with today, and he seemed quite suited to the whole style of play where you can kind of you get wall jumper thing where you can sort of literally jump through any wall at a certain pixel and jump back out of buildings, so you can sort of stealth into things, and you might get more experience for doing being undiscovered. Or if you can go in with the brute force thing and just blow the back off of various buildings, just strap them with explosives and run in, take what you need, and then run away again. But it does get harder as you go on. I mean, the first floor of the slums is just people are just sort of wandering around. You can pretty much get away with anything. As soon as you get on the second floor, there's police about. You can bribe police. You can also get people to join you. You can get up to 3. I think you can improve your sort of the number of folk you can have in your party. Things like if you take the gang member classes, there's 2 different gangs. And it's based on the classic LA gangs. It's the Blads and the Crepes in this. I haven't unlocked the Blads yet, but you can go a Crepe, and if you meet other gang members, you can normally hire if you're any other class, but if you meet one who's of your own class, you can basically get them to join you for free. Or if they're the opposite gang, they're just going to attack you on sight, basically. So there's so many different ways it can go with the different classes, characters that you can take. I've looked at some of the other ones you can get as well. Some of them are really weird. There's a comedian class you can unlock. I don't know what.
There's generally a joke class when it comes to these roguelikes and stuff.
There's a barman. They're all quite odd. But I've unlocked the vampire and shapeshifter. The vampire is quite interesting because you can only heal yourself by basically sucking blood, and it basically involves sort of getting behind folk and using you can right click for a special attack with certain things, like the thief has a sort of pickpocketing thing, and that one, you just jump on them and start sucking their blood out. Can be quite disturbing for other people around you. They'll either run off or could try and stop you, or run up to you and kind of stand there and go, "Get out of here! Go away! Go on!"
Pesky vampire.
Yeah. Yeah, it's the kind of dynamics of how the little sort of each floor works as part of a city. It gives it's something a bit more interesting than just sort of just hacking your way through a dungeon, and sort of taking your time to check out where everything is on the floor, work out what your approach to the sort of doing the missions is going to be. You basically have to complete all your missions before you move on to the next floor. There are sometimes optional ones that appear on the floor as well.
What's the sort of progression in terms of do you get better equipment and stats and stuff as you play through?
I've only unlocked bits and pieces, and you can unlock what I think you can do is basically you when you get your chicken nuggets and you go back to the home base in between playthroughs, you can go up to. There's various folk that you can unlock. Skills, loadouts, stuff, rewards. There's 3 of them. Now there aren't always things that you'll get with you to start the game with. Some of them might be, but it's usually just unlocking things that will be in the game pool. So that you might have an option of getting as a reward for completing a floor, completing a mission, things like that. So it just gives you a bit more options.
Oh, that's pretty cool.
You can unlock new stuff for your loadout as well, like better sort of explosive. I think there might be like class specific, because I unlocked grenades, but it only seems to go with the soldier, things like that.
Right.
And there's mutations you can take as well, which usual sort of thing where it's like it'll give you some class, some kind of bonus, but usually some kind of
penalty
to it as well. Yeah, that's the word I was looking for.
The opposite of bonus.
Yes. So I haven't really tried any of those so far, but there's so many options there. I'm still trying to get to grips with what I can do, actually see how far through the game I can get. But yeah, you can customize as well. Once you've sort of unlocked all the other skills and everything, you can customize what's available in the game pool. So you can actually take things out if you want to make things more difficult, or you can put all the options in if you want.
See, it's just that. See, I love a roguelike, and this game does sound pretty cool. And for what I saw you playing it reminded me a lot of Neon Chrome, which was the one that we played in PS4 because of the whole, because you can destroy the environment in it, can't you?
Yeah.
And you can do that in Neon Chrome, and I thought that was a pretty cool thing.
Definitely was.
I think Neon Chrome sounds like a much smaller scale. Well, I think it's a smaller scale thing than what you're describing.
Right.
But I mean, like I say, I love a roguelike, and again, I really want to try this game out. So, how much did it cost you?
It was $5.99. It was
$5.99.
It was on sale on Steam. It's
right.
I should mention it is. It's in early access. It's still early access.
Yeah.
But I mean, it feels very complete, and it runs
polished.
fine. I've had no issues with it at all.
Cool.
And
you've got an ancient computer.
I know, that was my main concern. I was like, I've just paid for this, and I really hope it works. But I've had, let's say, no problems at all, and it's been really smooth. And there's going to be more stuff added. There's apparently, the floor levels you go through at the moment, there is. I've written down just question marks, or I've sort of scribbled. As you go, you park downtown, uptown, and then there isn't anything sort of specified. There's also a box for sort of big mission. It says, I don't know, I'm guessing that there'll be stuff you can do that's maybe links throughout the different floors. So yeah, it definitely looks like he's got stuff planned.
Cool.
The developer Matt Dabrowski.
This is a good attempt at Polish surname. You get 3+.
Oh, good, excellent.
Which attempt? The first one or the second one?
Both were.
Dabrowski?
No, we're getting worse now.
Nah, see, I'm just assuming that the W is going to go a certain
What's
way.
with the Russian accent? You?
Dabrowski. Matt Dabrowski.
Right, so that's...
that was published by Tiny Build.
Tiny Build. Mm-hmm. That's Streets of Rogue. I was going to say Streets of Rage. No, it's Streets of Rogue.
It's Streets of Rogue.
And that's just on Steam, as far as I can tell.
Yeah.
Alright, move on. So, Dave, what have you been playing?
I have been playing Hollow Knight, which is a side-scrolling platformer. And it's, 2D side-scrolling platformer. And it's what we've come to call a Metroidvania. I don't know if anyone wants to... Do we need to explain what Metroidvania is?
Nah, probably not.
Good.
If you don't know what it is, just go away.
Because that would be a pain.
I'm sure Pavel will tell you some story from his childhood about it.
Yes. Well, it's...
Good memories.
Yeah, Metroidvania has become quite a popular genre, particularly in the sort of indie game scene and the smaller budget games. But more than anything, what this game is influenced by is Dark Souls, I would say, or the Souls series in general. And that Metroidvania with Souls influence, I've discovered has also become something of a new genre, I would say.
Yeah.
There's a few games like Salt and Sanctuary springs to mind, but there seems to be a bunch of other ones as well.
There was a few Kickstarters recently, very much in it as well.
In terms of what, just like really difficult bosses and stuff, or
Well,
because people were basically describing Cuphead like that as well, as being like, you know, like the Dark Souls of side-scrolling platformers.
yeah, I think people just really like Dark Souls,
Yeah, I
the
think
Souls
so, aye.
series, and try to bring some of the influences of that game into the games that they are making. But I mean, I'll try and explain a bit about Hollow Knight, and you can listen out for any bits that remind you of Dark Souls, and maybe make like a noise.
Right. Oh yeah, some sort of noise. You mean like the noise that we have ready?
Yeah. So when you start Hollow Knight, you're immediately dropped into the game. Yep. Right. So when you start playing Hollow Knight, the first thing you'll see is that it's done in a sort of hand-drawn art style, somewhat similar to Castle Crashers, but better. It's less cartoony, more hand-drawn, and it has all these multiple layers of parallax. So there's like stuff in the foreground and there's stuff in the background, and it all shifts really, really, really nicely when you move through the game. And everything is all dark. It's all done in very muted kind of grey, blue tones, especially to begin with, and it's perpetually nighttime as well. So you're just dropped in. There's no explanation of why you're there really, or what's going on. You're just dropped straight into it. You can.
There we go.
So off you go. You jump. You jump. You slash with your sword thing that you have, and you get to a town, which is the kind of hub level almost.
Do you also roll in this game?
No.
Oh,
damn.
Well, maybe later. So, and like, unsurprisingly, this town, it's like, was once this fabulous place, but now it's all fallen into decay.
the word decay as such is sufficient.
There's like shops there, but they're all closed. Like that's less like Dark Souls.
Yeah,
it's
that is
more
aye.
like Dunfermline High Street. But
Dave, not a fan of Dunfermline.
there's a the game does Dark Souls in Fife. They have a lot in common.
I was just for 5.
Yeah, Fife's not that bad. That's the motto. That's the county motto.
Is that the county motto?
Yeah,
Fife.
Fife.
It's not that bad.
It's all right. It's like, yeah, Fife. I know what it's like. Welcome to Fife. I know you probably didn't. You know, like when you were young and like life seemed so full of promise and excitement, and when you were thinking about how your life was going to turn out, you probably didn't think you were going to end up in Fife. But you know,
Here you are.
you're here, so
Make the best of it.
there's no point greeting about it.
Thanks, Dave.
Yeah.
So Dark Souls is sort of the same-ish, yeah?
Yeah. And so, yes, anyway, so you get to this village, it's called Dartmouth. There's a depressed man there. Yep.
Yeah, go for it.
There's going to be too much air horn now. I'm just going to have to stop it.
Yeah. He tells you about the city below called Hallow Nest, which was once glorious and fabulous, but has now, you know, become fallen again into decay and decrepitude. And off you go, you jump down and you start exploring. And that's basically how it works. It works like any other Metroidvania style game. There's bosses, there's lots of monsters down there that you can fight. Everything in this game is insect based. That's one thing about it that's quite unusual. Like visually, your character has a kind of mask on, and there's some sort of story reason for this that I don't know yet. But it's like his mask is like the skull of an insect that he's got over his face, and everyone you encounter is a kind of insect type creature of some shape or form. So it's got quite a unique look to it. And the city has this, the Hallow Nest and all the areas you go to all have this sort of very, very pretty architecture, but again, slightly influenced by this insecty type vibe that's going on. There's like a currency you find that looks kind of like insect eggs. I think they're meant to be geodes. It's all like rocks and moss and insects. It's a strange thing. And yeah, there's like regular monsters to fight, and then there's like occasionally you'll find a slightly harder guy who you could maybe get past initially. You don't have to fight them. And then there's bosses. You beat a boss, you'll normally get some sort of power up that will allow you to get to new areas of the game. There's a story going on through it. I've only played like 6-10 hours, so I've only got to like the third area. So I don't really know quite what's going on with the story. I don't know who I am yet or why I'm there, but I'm there for a reason, clearly, and yeah, I'm looking forward to finding out what it is. It's hard. It's really hard. Like it's not hard like, I don't know if anyone's played Spelunky. It's not hard. It's not hard like that. And the Spelunky's different because it's permadeath and everything. It's not that Twitch difficulty, so it's not on that level. It's not like playing Super Meat Boy. It's not full on hardcore. But when you initially play this game, you don't expect it to be as difficult as it is. And when you first start playing, it's kind of alright. But especially some of the platforming in it, like if you don't like platforming sections where you die again and again and again until you finally nail it, there's some of that in this game. And maybe, I don't mind it. I'm alright with that. I will just do that. But it maybe interrupts the flow a little bit for some people. But I mean, that's part of its charm, and that's part of the whole Souls thing, is the level of difficulty. Some of it comes through. I mean, some of the bosses and even the smaller creatures that you fight, they're fun to fight. They do like clever Soulsy type things. They're not just simple pattern-based monsters. There was like one of the guys I was fighting. He has like a sword and shield, but again, it's a whole sort. He's like got his insecty armor, and he's like doing this sort of overhead smash, but blocking with his shield. And I was like, all right, I'll just jump over him because you can jump quite high. But as soon as I went to jump over him, he like saw I was going to do it, jumped backwards, and then just smashed me when I landed. So it's satisfying to play, and yeah, I'm really enjoying it. I don't know how I found this game. I guess it just came up in a sale or something.
Yeah, I've never heard of this.
Came out earlier this year, but I was just having a look at development. Actually started in 2014, apparently. Partially, it says there. Yeah, partially Kickstarter funded by an Australian company called Team Cherry, who I think were pretty much formed for the purpose of making this game. So I don't really know if the guys involved have been involved with anything else. But yeah, if you like platformers, I mean, there's so many to choose from though. So
this one looks very very well polished. The graphics are pretty cute and just good quality. I
haven't played it enough to make a full judgment on it, but I get the impression that the strong points of this are more the fact that the story is strong, and it does look. I think it looks really nice. It's definitely got a sort of unique quality to it, and it's atmospheric to play. And the only downsides are it's a wee bit just slightly lacking in polish, just in little areas. So it's like harder in places where it doesn't really need to be that difficult.
Right.
It's little things. There's bits of it where there's bits where I've done platforming sections, and I'm like, yeah, it's just like there's just no need for that. It was just way.
Felt like it's just been chucked in for the sake of it.
It was just, yeah, like last night I was playing it and there was a bit that I was doing that was just took me ages, and it's on the critical path, so it's not like I was trying to get like an optional. There's all sorts of upgrades and systems going on, which I won't even. I mean, well, one really cool one is it does have the system of when you die, you drop your money in this game,
right, and
you have to go back and get it. As far as I could tell, almost entirely unnecessary for it to be in this game.
But quite solely.
But they do try, yes. But they do try and tie it in with the theme, and there is, so it is sort of tied in, but it does seem a bit patched in. But that's in there. But also, in addition to that, every time you hit a monster or kill it, you get like soul energy. That's not what you drop when you die. You drop your money, weirdly. But this soul there's this cool thing with the soul energy where you can use it to heal yourself, but you can also use it to power your like special ability you have. So that's quite nice. There's like a wee trade-off between those two, and there's little mechanics in it, upgrades and such, that you can you can choose what kind of upgrades you apply to your character. So there's all sorts of different ones that you can find in the game. But you can't have them all all equipped at once. So you have to decide which ones you're going to have. So like if you want the one that automatically soaks in the money, then you're going to have to leave off something else that might make combat easier for you. Or like there's the one that shows where you are in the map. Like you can turn that off, but then you have to keep track of where you are in the map, which is more difficult than you might think. It's a big map and big game. So recommend it.
Cool. How much does it cost roughly?
I can't remember.
No.
It was like £15, but I got it again. It was in the sale. So yeah.
Oh, well.
I didn't pay full price for it, but whatever I paid for it was reasonable.
I'm just going to check that just now. It's $10.99 at the moment.
Oh well, there we go. Even less than I thought. I would say it's probably worth $10.99, but it'll surely come up in the sale again, as these things often do.
Cool. So Hollow Knight by Team Cherry. That's out on Windows and Linux, and it's coming for the Switch in the start of next year, 2018.
Apparently so.
So there you go. Right. So we've left ourselves about we'll say 15 to 20 minutes. We're going to talk about the event that we went to in Edinburgh a couple of weeks ago now, which is called Games Are For Everyone, which is an event which was held by, what's the company called? We Throw Switches.
Yeah.
So
this is volume 6. This is the 6th one.
I think this is the 6th one. I think, did we not talk about going to the last one and we didn't?
But yeah, we were
the tickets
looking at it,
sold out or something. So,
yeah.
But we managed to get to this one this year. It was in the caves in Edinburgh, which is a really cool fucking setting.
Yeah, I've never been in that venue before.
I've never been in that place before either. Actually, not in that bit of it. Which is like, if you know what the caves are, it's basically the sort of underground part of Edinburgh.
Nice gothic feel.
Yes, so it's all very like old stonework and stuff. And I'm pretty sure that that's the kind of place that they lock the plague victims in and stuff. So it's slightly morbid, but it's
Edinburgh is a cheery place.
Oh yeah. I mean, all these sort of underground places are now used by various pubs and clubs, and I think there's actually a pagan group has got one part of it because they would.
Well, it's a great setting to have a drink and play some video games.
Indeed.
Which is what we did.
That is exactly what we did. I had more than one drink, I'll be honest.
I think I had a fair few.
So there was a number of things on display there,
Yeah.
including a giant synth, which isn't a video game, but it was an interesting thing which everybody had to go at, and it was all hooked up to the main audio thing, so whatever you were playing on the synth at the time, everybody could hear it in that particular area. But there was a bunch of video games there, and like the people that had developed them were hanging about there as well. What was your favourite things there, Euan?
Well, I don't know. There was quite a lot there. We got to play a fair bit. The ones that was sort of I can actually remember playing, Fogs enjoyed, and that was. I'm assuming it was a demo for the game because
it was a demo. Because
you played through like a full thing.
I'm not. It's interesting though because I had a wee look. I'm not sure if that will ever be a full game, but it might be. But a lot of the stuff that was there was just. There was a variety, wasn't there? There were things that were just like this is a game and it's a commercial thing and you can buy it. And there was other stuff that was definitely more on the arty side.
Yeah,
where it was just like
you would only get this in this.
Yeah, some of it was just like one-off things done by people who would identify as artists.
Yeah.
So I think Fogs was somewhere in the middle, as in like that was slightly arty, but almost like a game. I can't remember. I'm not sure.
Yeah, I mean, one I particularly enjoyed as well was Line Wobbler.
Oh, sorry, Ian. Can we go back a bit?
Because
we'll go back to Fogs actually, because it does seem that it's a game that's I don't know if it's still in development or what, but they've definitely got some pictures up from the Games Are For Everyone thing.
Yeah, but Fogs was like Brothers.
It was a bit like Brothers, and it was on the PlayStation. We played it. It was a PlayStation controller, and it was basically you had to share a controller, and each person took one head of a double-headed dog. And
it's a sort of stretchy dog, like in Nobby Boy as well. It's a little bit like that too.
And it was like a puzzly thing, wasn't it?
Yes.
And like you say, it was like Brothers, but So, except in Brothers, you could separate the brothers and make them walk off. In Fogs, there was only so far you could go from each other because you were connected. You were a two-headed dog. So, but it was like each each head used one of the analog sticks. So, yeah, like you say, it's very similar to Brothers in that way. But yeah, we sat when people were playing it sort of co-op, 2 players, just one person having a head each, which is how me and Dave played through it. And I thought it was actually quite. It was a really fun thing to play. Actually, I really enjoyed playing that. It was one of the things that stuck out for me, and it was. I definitely would consider picking it up.
Yeah.
So sorry, let's move on. Euan, what were you saying about Line Wobbler?
Well, yeah, no, I mean, that's again the variety of stuff there. Say there's stuff that was sort of in development for release. Stuff that was just like and there was quite a few games that were just daft wee things that people had made and just wanted to showcase in that sort of environment. One of them, like Line Wobbler, was essentially like a long strip of what is that light that stuff? Is that an LED?
An LED light
it's
strip.
A strip. Yeah, it's a strip LED,
light,
with lots of them.
It was maybe about what,
joined together to make
15
one,
feet long or something.
And it went all the way up the wall. So it started at.
And it's been programmed. Essentially, it's almost like an abstraction of a platform game.
Yeah.
Because the idea being that you use a sort of like joystick thing to move a single green light up the LED chain to the top of it was going all the way up the wall. You want it to get right to the top, and there'd be obstacles. Lava would appear.
Just a coloured light.
Yeah,
it
would become solid when it was going to kill you. You would appear something, you'd see it for a second, then you'd have to move away from where it was. You'd get enemies were red and they would sort of go up and down coming at you, and you had to like wobble the stick to kill them when they came near you, and there would be like your sort of wee green light would turn into a yellow one and it would become like extend a little bit.
But as Dave says, that's not something that you would buy.
No,
that's just like that's some arty thing that somebody's made, and it was definitely a game.
Absolutely.
But it's because it's a 15-foot long light strip.
Yes.
You're not going to put that in your hallway.
It's the sort of thing you go around and muck about with in your mate's garage.
Aye.
Have a few beers. But yeah, there was other stuff in that in a similar vein to that as well. A couple other sort of video gamey ones we played. We also, I know the three of us definitely enjoyed Muddle Dash.
Yes.
Which is a sort of co-op, it's a multiplayer sort of party game thing where you're a bunch of little octopus guys. I don't know what they.
Yeah, they were just weird creatures.
Yeah, definitely marine.
It was a racing game essentially.
Yeah,
and it was just a side-on 2D thing.
You're trying to get a gift to a party, and you had to be the one that actually turned up. The idea being that you went through the door with the gift, and there was all sorts of shenanigans to make that happen.
Yeah.
So you're racing through this bit and constantly knocking this little present out of each other's hands and trying to grab it off the other folk.
That was great.
Yeah, I really enjoyed that game. It was just stupid.
You just jump and then you could dash to go a little bit faster for a brief bit, and then
kick people. Yeah.
You could kick people to make them drop the present, which is mostly what you did. And how many was it? Four
people.
Four people. Yeah, so it was like ridiculously chaotic. it was good. A lot of last minute turnarounds. That was where most of the fun came from.
I think just about every one of the things we did was a last minute turnaround.
Carry the present for the entire level, and then
somebody boots you at the end.
It was a game designed to be stolen in the last second.
So yeah, that was a lot of fun. There was also Virtual Walker 87.
Of course, yeah.
It was 87, wasn't it?
Well, again, that would be another example. I think we were going for
somebody just making something for the sake of it.
Yeah.
And it was a VR game.
Yeah.
And it used a phone. So it was one of the what was it they call them? What was it they call the phone VR headset thing? I can't remember what it's called.
Binoculus.
But yeah, you basically these guys. It was a guy from, I think he was from Dundee University, was he?
Yeah, it was Abertay.
Abertay, yeah. And he basically just standing there telling us, like, look, this game's shite. Like, this game's terrible, but it's just a laugh. It was just something we made for a laugh. And it is a VR thing where you're basically simulating walking along a beach, but you have to do it by standing in a tray that they'd made especially for this, which had a sensor on the bottom of it, and it had sand in it. And you had to just walk, basically, on the spot. So you were marching on the spot to make the game move you further along the beach. And it was just, like, pixelated like
Just designed to be a tedious experience.
Like if somebody had tried to make a VR game in the 80s, that's just basically what it looked like. It's just stupid.
I found it quite interesting the way that you controlled it by sort of having to move the shift your weight from left to right on the pads to sort of make it walk forward. You couldn't even do that quicker so as to make it go quicker. I think it was capped at a certain speed that it was going to go through. Even that like element of it was just like, let's just make this sure that you cannot have any enjoyment here.
And I got the bonus of being the only person to have made it to the end of the beach. But I did it through cheating, because basically I took over from somebody else and then just walked the rest of the way.
I mean,
eventually you hit a brick wall when he's just like, yeah, you can go through that, and it just goes back to the start of the game.
Right. I mean, we should mention that it is based on an actual beach in Aberdeen. In St Andrews. Sorry, that was
yes, it is.
And the sand that is in the tray is taken from St Andrews Beach.
And the debris they put in the sand, the little bits of seaweed and whatnot.
It was just stupid. Yeah. Let's be honest. But it was a good laugh, and the guy was really good about it. And he was they had a fun concept, and they went all the way with it. And the other thing that I really want to talk about, actually, and this is getting back to what I said at the beginning of the episode, which is the only thing that I've really played, was that they had Reigns Her Majesty there, and they had it on it was a PlayStation they had it on, wasn't it? That they were using, or a controller for it at least.
Yeah, possibly.
So I don't know what it was that it was actually played on, but this is basically a mobile game. The original Reigns is what I've been playing, and it's basically like you're basically a king in Her Majesty. You're a queen. And it just gives you a bunch of options, and it's basically just like, you swipe left or right depending on which choice you want to make, and it'll just say something like, your people, or what am I thinking one? Oh yeah, like the river is flooding or something like that. What should we build a dam somewhere or whatever? And you can choose things, and there's 4 things at the top of the screen. There's one for the church, one for people, one for the army, and one for money. And if any one of those things gets too high or too low, then your reign ends as the king or queen, depending on which game you're playing. And then you move on to the next one. But there's things that you can unlock more cards for the game, which is basically more questions that ask you depending on what you do. And yeah, the decisions that you make in that game will affect the markers and the thing. And it's quite interesting because when you're moving the thing to one side or the other to make one decision, it tells you which things it'll affect, but it doesn't tell you if it'll be positive or negative. You have to try and work that out for yourself depending on the question that's being asked and the decision that you're making. And I actually think that it's a really addictive game. Like, I've been playing it on my phone, the original Reigns, and it's really, really addictive, and there's so many weird things in it. There's a lot of different decisions that you can make in it. I think I've only really seen 1 or 2 sort of copies, and I've been through like 10, 12 kings now.
Right.
And like there's weird interesting things happen, because like it starts in the year like 600 or something, but when you get to the year 666, a demon comes and visits you, and all sorts of weird shit starts happening, and then like that king is then cursed for the rest of his reign, and all this. It's bizarre, and there's a lot of attention and detail being given to it, and Her Majesty apparently has got even more of that sort of thing in it, and it's much more interesting. We stood and played it for a good 15 minutes or something, didn't we? Had a go each. But yeah, it was an interesting concept, and the game was actually there just before it got released, so we got a sort of preview game of it, and I think Her Majesty only came out like last week or something like that, so yeah, it's now available for phones if you want to go and check that out. Anything else you guys want to mention from that?
Plastic animal stacking game.
Oh yeah, that was interesting.
Yep.
Beasts of Balance.
We got to watch people play Beasts of Balance. We couldn't actually get on it.
Somebody was hogging it.
It was being hogged.
It was one of the interesting aspects I found at being at Games Are For Everyone was the sort of how it's not like how it used to be when you were in an arcade. Because people don't have proper game etiquette anymore. I don't agree games should be for everyone, because some of the people who were at Games For Everyone should not have been there because they don't know how to play games with others. You were talking about Reigns Her Majesty. Yeah, we got to play it for ages. Eventually.
Aye.
I waited, must have been 20 minutes, standing directly behind someone who was just playing that game, and you play it and your reign ends after like maybe 30 seconds, and you're meant to play it multiple times. That's fine. Yeah. It wasn't just me standing there. There were other people standing there waiting as well. I was the only one who was like toughing it out though. Like once I was there, I was like, I'm not going to move. Like other people just wandered off. I was like, no, I'm going to stay here until this person. I'm going to see how long they are going to sit and play this game with me standing directly behind them, clearly waiting to get a shot of it. That there was a few like that. Some of them, like some people, they went in a game and they had a few shots of it, and then they were like, right, that line wobbler. Some people, the person who was in front of Euan on line wobbler, they were on it way too long.
You didn't need to be playing that game for very long. Really.
There was
could get a feel for it.
There was a huge queue for that game.
I think I did just have to barge in eventually.
That's right, you jumped in. There was another VR game where they had to kick people off because people wouldn't just come off it. They just kept playing it, and then the guy had to go on and. I mean, I know you're in VR and maybe you forget yourself a wee bit, but like I was watching him and the guy was like, "Right, are you going to maybe let other people have a shot now?"
Well, I suppose you say like the arcade etiquette. Arcades have been something that have been kind of missing for quite a while. I think for most people. So I suppose to some extent, like maybe we need more of these kind of events to rehabilitate the notion of the arcade, of the sort of open thing, and get people get them learning some etiquette,
Teach these youngsters manners.
Teach them some manners.
Yeah, so we didn't get on. There was stacking plastic 3D printed animals on an RFID scanner.
Yep.
But it looked interesting.
You just described the whole game.
Yeah, I mean, it's hard to describe. It's designed to be weird.
Yeah.
And you're meant to figure out how the game works by playing it, by stacking the animals. And so, you put like a rhinoceros. I don't think there was a rhinoceros. Was there? What was there? It was a boar?
It was different animals, but also there was environmental ones as well. I mean, if you go into the game, it tells you the pieces you get with it, and there's animals, there's environments, and there's other things
There's
as
sort of
well.
like spirit type stuff, wasn't there?
And so it wants you to build up these things to build up like an ecosystem.
Yeah.
And that's what the impression I got of the game. One of my favourite aspects of that, actually watching it, was just how petulantly it reacts to you putting the wrong thing on there. And actually, like where most games would be like, remove.
You did really love that.
Says, take that off. I had the voice in my head, and every time it appeared, just flashed up on the screen. Take that off. Like most other games would just be like, remove this piece, or like, remove last piece. That's all you need to say.
Yeah. Because the weird sort of gimmick of this, as well as combining these physical pieces on the scanner, you have to stack them. They all have to fit on top of each other, and it did quite a good job of detecting that you were actually stacking them. It was pretty well. It worked pretty well. So it's a bit like Jenga as well. It's an unusual concept. I don't know who came up with this. It's pretty nuts.
But we couldn't quite figure out what sort of platform it was on, though. I mean, we were assuming it's like it uses a PC program or something to actually determine all this stuff and basically play the game.
Yeah, but it was a fully produced game. I don't know if it's available for sale, but they have the box for it. They had a box for it and the art. And
is it for sale?
Yeah.
No.
That's what I was checking before, but again, I couldn't actually work out whether it's specific to any particular platform, or, but it does say it's available through iOS and Google Play, because there's an app you need for it. So I think you could hook it up with a like a iPad or something like that, because you do need a screen that gives you all this sort of general chat and tells you what you need to be doing.
You can see your animals existing and intermingling and.
Just sort of
hybridizing as well. You could cross a pig with a dolphin and get a sort of dolphin.
But would you?
Well,
that's the
these are the sort of decisions you have to make when you're making plastic animal stacking on an RFID scanner game.
Anything else that you want to mention?
There was all sorts. There was loads of other sort of random arty stuff. I liked getting the train in Fife. That was quite good. I didn't get to play that, but you guys did another mention for Fife there. But it really took me back to my days commuting. Depressed man on it. It's one of these games where sometimes people are depressed and unhappy with their life, and they decide to make a video game about it.
Yeah.
It was one of those, and it was about working in an office, and it was called Travel or something, wasn't it? Something like that. So anyway, there was all sorts. There was Everything Is Going to Be Okay. I was quite taken with that, but I never actually got to play it.
I did have a good look at that. I think we were standing trying to work out what was going on with that game for quite a while.
Yeah, don't know what that is. It was just it was deliberately mental.
Yeah.
But I think there is a little bit more to it than just randomness. I think that's available on Steam or something.
Okay.
If you want to throw money at that. Yeah, it was good.
But a good time was had. And it was obviously very well organised as well. It was set up, like, everything was set up nicely. There was plenty of space for people to move around in, and lots of beer available at the bar. And
It was
that
a very
the main
civilised club night.
thing. It was very civilised. Aye, it was basically a club night for nerds.
Yeah.
And it was very civilised, other than the people that don't know their manners of when to give somebody a go of a game.
Yeah. I'm sure there was the same person sat on Yorkshire Gubbins every time I looked round the corner to see if it was worth checking out.
Right, so that was Games Are For Everyone, and it seems to be an annual event, so...
It's possibly more than that.
Is
I
it
think
more
there
than
may
annual?
May have been one earlier this year that was maybe the one we missed.
Was that the one we missed? Okay, so maybe it's more than annual.
Volume 7 or 8, I don't know, it is apparently in production.
So that'll be around soon.
Is
Yeah,
it?
It will.
Is it purely an Edinburgh thing, or do they go on tour?
Well, the guys that run We Throw Switches are based. I don't know if they're based. They are Scottish based, but they. I mean, they've been up and down the country. They've been sort of going to, premieres for different video games and whatnot, and sort of basically hiring out their service to organise things for video game developers. So
That's interesting.
yeah,
Check them out then, We Throw Switches.
good lads.
Right, well, that's the end of the episode, and that's it for this year. Alright, we're not coming back this year.
Right, aye. It's Christmas time.
It's Christmas time,
Whistle
we're having
blow
our
one.
Christmas break. Pavel, you're going back to Poland or something.
What?
Well,
That's a lie.
I'm just informing you of this now. Right, we will give out all our internet stuff. Our email address is firstplayertoken@gmail.com. That's FIRST player token. We can find us on Facebook, Twitter, SoundCloud, iTunes, YouTube. We have a PSN community. Our Discord is discord.me/firstplayertoken. So all of that stuff is all First Player Token as in FIRST, or the large and unnecessary First Player Token. The exception being Twitter, which is at 1ST Player Token.
As always, once the player token.
Thank you very much, Euan. My Twitch username is Unnecessary Chris. If you want to watch me playing video games, I'll still be doing that, despite the fact we're not podcasting or anything. I'll still be playing games because I'll have a lot of fun doing it. And we are part of the Podnose Network.
UK's leading entertainment podcast network.
Any Christmas news, Euan?
It's Christmas, and
Thank you.
all throughout the house, fuck all is stirring. Not even a mouse.
That was beautiful, Euan. Thank you very much.
Poetic.
Right, we will be back next year in 2018, sometime in January. We've not really decided when yet, but we'll get that sorted out and we'll keep you updated on our
Probably once
social
we've played
media
some board
stuff.
games.
Once we've played some board
Or
games.
Christmas board games.
Get some Christmas board games.
board game report. That's,
Yep.
that's
Oh yeah,
gonna
we
be
could
it.
do that. And I believe, Pavel, we're going to do an unboxing of your ridiculous Divinity Original Sin 2
Yeah,
thing
we're
at some
gonna do
point,
that.
so we'll do a video of that at some point soon as well.
Absolutely.
But until then, thanks for listening.
Bye.
Bye.
Merry Christmas.
Bye. Say bye, Claire.
Hi.